Here we go. Oof, that is bad. It's like my entire YouTube channel woke up hungover. Sorry, just 1 second. Steady. That doesn't make a lick of a difference. Just kind of shining off my glorious dead comic there. So last week when I started making these videos, I filmed that particular one on my wife's phone, which actually worked really well. I used to use my phone, but then it wouldn't connect to the laptop, so I borrowed my wife's, and it worked a treat. But since that time, her phone broke, which meant she had to get a new one. So yesterday, she went into a phone shop and was given one of those new Google AI, stops it being windy when you're getting married phones. Just make your dog go away if your baby's talking to you. Yeah, but the problem is it doesn't connect to the laptop. I just can't get it to work. So I've had to use the camera on my laptop. I think we're running at about 720 definition here, which in itself wouldn't be too much of a problem, but it's completely shot my lighting rig. I had these little fellas kind of bouncing off the walls, and I got everything just right, and it worked. And now, for some reason, that lighting level is completely kaput when I use the camera on the laptop. It looks like I'm making this video in a cave. But here's the thing, I made you guys a promise. I promised you that I would deliver a review the day after the TV episode was transmitted, and I am going to deliver on that promise come hell or high water. So welcome, distinguished followers, to my slightly echoey, unrehearsed, uncensored, unimpressive, visually dire review. But that's okay, because we're going to have a lot of fun. If you have not yet seen The Star Beast, what are you doing on YouTube? Get off this video now. Don't even minimize it if you've got it maximized, because if you minimize it, you'll see all the thumbnails on the side if you haven't seen them already. Just, what are you doing here? Go watch The Star Beast and then come back and watch this video. Okay, I'll do you a countdown. Okay, right. You ready? 3, 2, 1. See you soon. Wow, look at my hand. I'm regenerating. See you soon. Please come back. And also, hello, happy 60th anniversary. I'm going to talk about just some of the 60th anniversary celebrations, which was not yesterday on the 25th. It was Thursday on the 23rd, which was exactly 60 years after the original very first transmission of Doctor Who and the Unearthly and an Unearthly Child. 60 years. So that happened on Thursday, and there were all kinds of celebratory things going on, a lot of them done by the BBC. I woke up to the BBC News in the morning, and while I was having breakfast, I watched some of the 60th anniversary celebrations they had on the news just before I went into work. They had Daleks in the studio. I don't know why Daleks would be celebrating this occasion. They were there with Nagamanchetti and the bloke, I forget his name, and they had one shot outside. They ran a few sort of pre-recorded packages talking about Doctor Who and various things, and they had a outside shot of a row of people in Doctor Who cosplay, and I think there was a Tardis there, and standing by the Tardis were two neomorphic Cybermen having a bit of a chat with each other, as neomorphic Cybermen do. And I was thinking to myself, somebody in the BBC just isn't taking this seriously. No, I'm joking. It was fine. It was good fun. And so when I got home from work, that was when the 60th anniversary celebrations really kicked in, because they had some extremely interesting programming going into the late hours, or what I consider to be the late hours, because I'm an old man. The day before, my friend James, who for the purposes of privacy will remain unnamed, messaged me telling me that they would be repeating An Adventure in Space and Time, the brilliant Mark Gatiss biopic of William Hartnell, the Doctor Who real-life origin story. I love it so much. I've waffled on about it extensively on this channel, and it's brilliant. It's so good. And me and my friend James, who for privacy purposes will remain unnamed, both postulated to each other, like so many others, that perhaps they would change the ending so it would no longer be Matt Smith standing in front of the Tardis control console, but instead the new guy, Ncuti Gatwa. And on these occasions, when it's something that actually makes me happy, I love being right, because that is exactly what they did. And it was so good. And it made so much sense. So much sense. It made more sense than sense itself could possibly make. William Hartnell's looking over at him, and Ncuti Gatwa's looking back at him. He's looking kind of serious at first. Then he does a somewhat serious wink, and then kind of his face just explodes into this really mischievous chuckle. The difference between this and Matt Smith is we already knew Matt Smith. He was coming to the end of his tenure. We know nothing about Ncuti Gatwa bar those 2 clips that we have seen on the trailers. And this, to me, foreshadowed a lot of this Doctor's personality. It made me so excited. This couldn't have been any smarter a move. I approve 100%. It was excellent. Okay, now going into something that I didn't like quite so much. It's so dark in here. Sorry guys. I might kind of brighten it up in post if I get round to doing a post. Like I said, I gotta do this on time. Hopefully it won't be like this. I can't even... I'm looking at myself talking, and don't look at you, look at them. There. Yeah, so... my rule number 1 with Doctor Who is if you watch Doctor Who and you enjoyed it, then you win, because the whole point of Doctor Who is to have fun. But I'm going to tell you something that I could not, unfortunately, get on board with, that I didn't really like. And that was the colorized version of Doctor Who and the Daleks. This kind of hyperactive, sweet tooth remix that they did of the original. Breaking it down, the concept of colorizing, I think was interesting and nice to see. Even though I'm a sucker for black and white, I love black and white stuff. I love black and white Doctor Who, and I love the fact that it's black and white. But I could get on board of that. It was nice seeing the Skaro City and all these pretty little colours. And they added some new CGI visual effects, which I'm just like, okay, all right. That's fine. However, the rapid fire editing that they did and the kind of jump cuts that they did back to certain points to remind the audience of what was going on in the story didn't lend itself well to the aesthetics of the original visuals, I thought. And maybe it's because this is me being an old man having seen Doctor Who and the Daleks a bunch of times. If this was geared towards a brand new audience, then I can totally get and understand how this might have been impressive. To me, it didn't lend itself well, and the thing that I thought was really distracting and quite annoying, and I wish there was a button where I could have switched it off, was the added music score. It was like I was trying to watch Doctor Who and somebody else was just playing something off their phone in my ear at the same time. It just didn't work at all, as far as I'm concerned. And when you combine all of these things together, what you basically have at the end is a kind of mergence of things that are modern in Doctor Who, like the perspectives through the eyepiece, like the music, like the added effects, merging with the classic tropes, and I don't think they merge well. I think they clash. I've never really liked or appreciated updated special effects in any Doctor Who. I think the most humble example that I think is okay is what they did in Terror of the Autons with the updated doll and the transparent squid thing on the pylons at the end. I think that all sort of works, but I draw the line there. I don't like it when they do this. I don't like it when they do this in anything. One of the most prominent examples is in Day of the Daleks, when they added all those new fangled, or at least they might have been at the time CGI effects. They changed the editing to all these kind of soft fades. And they voiced over the Daleks because the original voiceover was terrible. I don't like that because I'd rather the raw original experience of Day of the Daleks, as slightly rubbish as it was. But at least in that instance, the reason why they did it was because they were trying to improve on something that was essentially a bit crap. In the instance of the Doctor Who and the Daleks... Hello, sorry, I remember to look at you again. In the instance of the Doctor Who and the Daleks updated version, they are essentially trying to improve on what I perceive to be perfection. Of course, there is a case that Doctor Who and the Daleks, in its whole multi-episode glory, could do with a little bit of condensing, but not condensing to the point that you've gone from sitting in a park watching the... That's a terrible analogy. It was just all a bit too fast. It was all a bit too rapid, and I just don't think that these tropes worked. I think they might as well have just made the whole thing again. That is a subjective opinion. If you liked it, then fair play. So that's enough brain farting on that. Let's get to the meat of the matter. The Star Beast, the return of Doctor Who, the 60th anniversary special part 1. And the old gang is back. It's the Russell T Davies era Mark II, if you want to call it that, but it's really just a continuation of just before the Doctor regenerated, sort of. Kind of. Not only is it like the Chibnall era never happened, it's like the Stephen Moffat era never happened either. Donna Noble is back, Sean is back, Sylvia is back, and a lovely new addition to the family, Rose, who of course is named after the satellite from Flux. It's fine, because nobody laughed the last time I made that joke. Stupid. So, yeah, David Tennant, the 14th Doctor, lands in Camden outside of Cyberdog. I've been there. And just as he's trying to process the fact that he has become this Doctor and he is spiralling back towards the strange, anomalous person that is Donna Noble, a ship crashes. By the way, we get a lovely recap at the beginning explaining to us who didn't know or who us might have forgotten about the history of the Doctor and Donna Noble and all the stuff that happened there and how he had to wipe her memory, and it made her very sad before her memory was wiped, and it made him very sad. And then of course there's the thing with the lottery ticket, which was one of his many acts of kindness to all his friends before he regenerated. So the ship crashes and outside pops a little Meep. See, this is the Star Beast, and this is the Star Beast. I told you last week I was going to compare and contrast. Look, a lot of it is similar. A lot of it they absolutely nail. There's a character called Fudge. Hang on. Let me just check something. Sorry, I was going to check this before the video. Is Fudge an actual character in this book? Just... yeah. Yeah, he's actually, they got Fudge. He's Fudge. Fudge is in there. So that's cool. A lot of the visuals, a lot of the aesthetics, the steelworks, the ship, the involvement of Unit, it's all pretty much bang on. And if you watch the Doctor Who Unleashed episode that followed on BBC Three after this, you will actually see Pat Mills and Dave Gibbons backstage being confronted by the animatronic Meep, which was a masterclass on so many levels. Being a fan of the other best sci-fi TV show ever made, Farscape, I gotta say, man, Jim Henson Workshop, they got some stiff competition here, because that Meep animatronic, the combination of CGI effects, puppeteering, people walking around in green suits, it all works really well. Now, the thing about Meep, as you'll know if you've seen the Star Beast comic thing, is that it's a game of two halves, which we will get to in a minute. So Meep has been essentially adopted by Rose, who has a little workshop in a shed in the back of her garden, and she can relate to Meep on a level of being loneliness because of her own life experiences. But as we all know, Meep is not the cute little creature that it makes out to be. Meep is actually the last of a race that was sent mad by a psychedelic sun. Again, all of this is in the comic. And so Meep is actually a vicious, blood-hungry, nasty, terrible little creature under the Wraith Warriors who have been sent to Earth to apprehend this terrible, frightening little monster, are in fact the good guys. And that is essentially the bones of the Star Beast. That's pretty much the plot from start to finish. So all of these things in the trailer, such as the toy maker, Shooty Gatwa, not a lick, not a jolt, see nothing of it. And I kind of knew that that would be the case going into this. I kind of knew that the bits on that trailer that were the most exciting and the most jaw-dropping would be the bits that probably we wouldn't see in this episode, because Russell T Davies, he is a master writer. He knows how to create good drama, he knows how to create good climaxes and good culminations, but he's all about the family entertaining tea time experience, and I feel that the Star Beast was essentially a tea time entertaining experience. It didn't lean too heavily into why the Doctor has become David Tennant's Doctor again, the 10th Doctor. It kind of trickle-fed that mystery a little bit, but obviously that's just the plan, isn't it? That's just the nature of the game. It is going to slowly, gradually reveal that over the next 2 episodes, obviously. But when the Star Beast wasn't lending itself very faithfully to the Star Beast comic, it was primarily about the awakening of Donna Noble, or should I say the Dr. Donna. The Dr. Donna who has been asleep but not erased, because she can still kind of feel it in there. She can, her life is great because she's got this wonderful family, but something in the back of her head isn't quite right. There is something missing. It's like the Doctor is there in the corner of her eye, on the periphery of her thoughts. At the end of every sentence, there's a little bit of Doctor poking through. And this is where the story gets really interesting, because the Doctor realises that the only way to save London is to essentially have Donna Noble killed. Man, that's a tough choice. So the Star Beast ship lands, and it lands specifically in the steelworks because it needs to be repaired, and it is going to absorb the energy of London to do so, and in turn it will kill 9 million people. It's a good job the Doctor is on hand to stop that from happening, but he is in a situation where he can't do it alone because there's a ridiculous barrier in between him and Donna. So he has to use the kind of Manchurian Candidate Winter Soldier code word thingy to awaken Donna so she can work the controls on the other side so they can do it together. And it's sad, because Donna Noble is going to die because of it. Before we get to what happens next, I'm just going to talk slightly about the production and the aesthetics and the whole look of this story. It was full of action, it was very fast paced. The dialogue was very snappy, it was very entertaining, it was full of life and joy. It very much felt like a brand new product. I think the Doctor's Sonic was one of the things that really defined this as something new and ever so slightly Disney-ish. And we'll get something very Disney-ish at the end, as you know. But I felt like the difference between this and the Chibnall stuff is that it didn't really need a grandiose spectacle of an exploding universe to clarify that this was Doctor Who on a bigger budget. It was actually quite small and self-contained and humble, And if I was going to if I was going to create a special that marked an occasion, I might have been drawn to create something that was a little more celebratory of Doctor Who as a whole, rather than something that just focused on one aspect of Doctor Who history again. And that's not to say that I didn't like them doing this. I'm just saying that might be something that some people may have been a little bit vexed by, is that this possibly could have been an episode of Doctor Who that came from anywhere at any point in any series. But we know that it's going to build to something bigger and better. And like I said, it's not that I didn't like it. I thought it was good. I thought it was fun. We all sat down as a family and watched it over dinner, and that's the point of Doctor Who. So if I was going to sum this word up, fun, and that's it. Fun. It was a good laugh, whether you saw the Meep twist coming or not. But the ending is where it got really interesting. You see, Donna Noble doesn't actually die. She is saved by her daughter, Rose. Rose has inherited the meta-crisis energy of the Time Lord hand that Donna Noble inherited in the first place, which means that Donna Noble kind of has a conduit, a kind of outlet to share and project. It's kind of like a family link. It's a bond. A lot of themes of family running into this. And the interesting thing about Rose, about Yasmin Finney's character, is that she is a trans woman. And this is a subject that I am going to respectfully skip over and then backflip right back into, because that, distinguished followers, is the Russell T Davies way. This story arc, this twist, this reveal at the end reminded me a lot of when I watched the season finale of the first series of Torchwood. It was the Captain Jack Harkness episode, which revolved around a gay love story with Captain Jack, played by John Barrowman, and a real Captain Jack who he fell in love with. And there's this really wonderful, interesting scene at the end where they have a kind of ballroom dance together, and they sort of going for a loving embrace, but then they don't. They kind of back off, you see. And this is the brilliance about Russell T Davies' writing. He respectfully skips over it and then backflips right back into it, because Captain Jack goes back to Captain Jack and they going for a big kiss. It's lovely, it's wonderful, it's romantic, it shatters this idea that a gay romance can be awkward, that it can be upsetting, because Russell T Davies knew from personal experience, and he knew from all the other programs that he made, that this just wasn't the case, that it was love, it was beautiful, it was wonderful. And the way that scene in Torchwood embraced this, and the way that scene in Torchwood lent into this unashamedly, was just a wonderful moment. And I found it fascinating and really, really, just really well done. And this is what makes Russell T Davies a grand master, and I think he did the same thing last night, because you see Yasmin Finney's character being bullied on the streets for being trans. There is a conversation about pronouns a little bit later on, and that is kind of the sort of writing respectfully skipping over, but then in the end it backflips straight into the meat of the matter, because not only is Rose the person who saves the day, but it's because she is trans, because she is non-binary, that allows her to absorb this energy. It was her identity, it was her conviction and resolve to be her true self that not only saved the day, but also saved her own family. Just the deeper you go into this, the more interesting it gets. Now, what I've done is, after watching this, I have stayed completely off the internet to make sure that my subjectivity remains completely pure in every aspect of reviewing this video. And I am certainly not going to go anywhere near the internet today, and the reason why I am certainly not going to go anywhere the internet today is because I just cannot handle the crushing, depressing truth that CM Punk probably didn't show at Survivor Series last night. No, that's wrestling. This is... Shut up, Chimp. Bad Chimp. This is no time for a pivot. Sorry. I've stayed off the internet. I think this haters are going to hate. Alright? People are going to say nasty things. I think Russell T Davis saw this coming, and it's going to happen, unfortunately, which I think is a shame. Now, whether or not this element to Yasmin's character and how it reflects the fact that she is a trans woman and a non-binary person is an accurate depiction of how a trans person or a non-binary person actually feels, whether it's relatable, is not something that I am equipped to make a comment on, being a white cisgender straight male that I am. Other YouTubers will do that, and they will do a hell of a good job, and I can't wait to watch those videos when I've done this one. What I will say about this, and I will say two things. Firstly, I recognise that Russell T Davis does this from a place of kindness. He is the showrunner. He is my tribal chief, and I acknowledge, I'm doing it again. He is the showrunner, he is the producer, and he is doing this from a place of kindness. And what he has done is kind of the same thing that he did in Torchwood with that kiss, I believe, but on a grander scale, because this is the 60th anniversary episode. This is tea time Saturday night, and in front of millions and millions of viewers on the grandest Doctor Who stage of them all, he has opened up a pleasant, lovely, non-aggressive, non-awkward conversation about a minority of people who have been abused, who have been threatened, and they have been marginalised unfairly. And that is a bold move, and I have got to give Russell T Davis all the credit in the world for that. The second thing that I will add is that I am going to use this opportunity to make a declarative statement, and that is the Chosen Chimp channel is a trans-friendly channel. If you are a trans man or a trans woman or a non-binary person, you will always be welcome here. You will always be respected and loved and appreciated here, and I will do everything in my power to keep this platform a safe space for you for as long as this platform exists, and that is my promise. Right, now that I got my serious face on, time to talk about something even more serious, because the Chosen Chimp is proud to introduce a super serious edition. Cue the music. A super serious edition of Unit Doing Stuff. This week on my super serious edition of Unit Doing Stuff. Oh my god, did you say that? It was the first time that Unit have been back for ages. It's the Doctor Who anniversary special, and there's immediately a civil war between them. Half of them get hypnotised, and they have a firefight with their own colleagues on a street. Did you see the mess? And the most hilarious thing is the fact that the Wraiths, it turns out they were using anaesthetics and the bullets from their guns weren't actually damaging vehicles. Unit were using bazookas, blowing stuff up, shooting everything down. They destroyed Donna's house, fighting each other. It's just... Anybody who thinks that Doctor Who has changed, this is conclusive proof that it hasn't. And then it ends, well, it doesn't end, their involvement in this episode culminates with them saying hail the Meep, because they've all been hypnotised. Are these guys seriously going to get their own spin-off? Man alive. Well, at least they put the requirements of one of their superiors at the forefront. I liked her, by the way. Shirley, what was her surname again? I've got it written down. I want to say Ibrahim. It's not. I always want to say Ibrahim. No, it's not. It's Shirley something. She was cool. One of my favourite bits in this episode actually was when she first has a conversation with the Doctor, and it's cleverly blasé, which I think is actually really respectful to the audience, because we know the history between the Doctor and Unit. We know that they will fight for each other, they will die for each other, but they just cannot get on board with each other's ethics. And that will never ever change. So the Doctor's like hello, she's like hello, and then they just get straight into the conversation. And I think there wasn't really any room for a catch-up. They have a bit of a conversation about the Doctor coming back later, because that feeds into the specific plot of why he's the 14th. But everything else was just kind of talking shop, which I think was really cool. She was a great character. I loved the gizmos in her wheelchair, the rockets and everything. Can't wait to see more of Shirley. And yeah, it's great to see Unit back in all seriousness. Just, oh man, it's like it is. I said this to my wife when I was watching it. I said, are they doing this just for me, so I've got something to laugh about in my video? Oh, Unit. So anyway, the day is saved and they go into a brand new TARDIS, and it is the most Disney-ish looking thing ever. I gotta be honest, fellas, I'm not really sold on it, but at least the Doctor liked it. He's running around on all the platforms, he's happy as Larry, and it's just all very plain. I mean, I know the things light up when there's danger, and when it's kind of like reflects his emotions. When he's happy, it turns blue. So I think maybe that's something that they'll play into. But I really want Ncuti Gatwa to get in there and decorate, to be honest, because at the moment it just kind of looks pretty, I don't know, just doesn't have a lot of personality. Just I like Matt Smith's first one with all the little levers and gizmos and the pulley down monitors. It's just like, yeah, I mean, I got this, so I don't know why I'm dissing them for doing that. Yeah. So Ncuti Gatwa, not a glimmer. The toy maker, not a glimmer. Possibly he's the boss. Well, probably he's the boss. But other than that, not a single sausage of any of that stuff that we saw in the trailers. Which means all the really, really good, exciting stuff is yet to come. Doctor Who Unleashed promised an exclusive clip of the next episode, The Wild Blue Yonder. And it was the Doctor licking a bit of circuitry, and that was it. So, but I like the mystery. There's some kind of creature, and we don't know what it is, and it hasn't been revealed, and it will not be revealed. So, I'm looking forward to flying blind in that, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see Neil Patrick Harris in the next episode, and that is where we're going to go forward. So listen, get in the comments and tell me what you thought about the Star Beast. I have waffled on quite enough for one Sunday morning, and I'm sorry again about all this. I'll try and get it sorted for next Sunday, where I will be reviewing The Wild Blue Yonder in all its mysterious Doctor Who-ish glory. Until then, I will bid you farewell. I hope you have a good week. Take good care of yourselves. Have a good one.